Hi, Pam.
Hi, Sarah.
Welcome to the Art of Community, which is a new conversation series we're doing at Caffe, Lena, where we bring people from the nonprofit sector together to talk about our work and what inspires us to keep going. Because it's kind of a crazy line of work in some ways, isn't it?
Very much so. It's been very surreal. Very much.
It's all of these organizations are out to save the world and make the community wonderful in their own special way. Mm-hmm. And they're full of people who have a lot of passion and always want to do a little bit more than they can possibly do. And I love it. And I love to find out what keeps other people going through the good times and the hard times and what inspires them. So I would love to kick off this conversation by just asking you to describe what your job is at Saratoga Bridges right now. And you know what, for the record, you might as well talk a little bit about what Saratoga Bridges does. But what I really want to know is, what was your path? How did you get turned on to doing this kind of work? What put you there?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. It's quite a pleasure to be with you in person without masks.
That's right. This is our first day of actually not requiring masks here at Caffe Lena, so I'm excited.
Well, in my line of work, we still have to wear them because we're still a health care facility under the state. But I was living in Washington, D.C. I got sick, ended up coming back to my hometown, and I was volunteering at Westlake Healthcare Center. And then I went to learn how to use a voice-activated computer, and they offered me a job at the Independent Living Center, and I worked there for 4 years in Saratoga, or in Glens Falls, and then we opened a place in Saratoga. And then I was looking for another opportunity, and there was a grant writer position at Saratoga Bridges, which was Saratoga County ARC at the time. And so I went and interviewed, and I got the job, and that was a part-time, 25-hour-a-week position that's turned into a whole lot more.
So you came to Saratoga after you got sick, you said, and this is home?
Yes.
Okay. And so what had your career been? What were you actually trained to do?
Well, I was a political science and French major, so I was trained to work for an international company, but that didn't pan out. But because I went my first interview and was in French, which I didn't realize. And that was
surprise.
It was with these very intimidating men who were very French and very unwelcoming to the stupid American who thought her vocabulary was up to par, and it was, intimidating beyond belief. So I needed a job, so I started working for a company, and I thought about what I liked to do, and what I liked most was gathering people together. So I was a meeting planner, and I did special events and travel all over the country, first class. It was wonderful.
Wow.
And then that ended abruptly at 26 and came back home.
So when you switched from the for-profit sector into the nonprofit sector, what was your reaction to the sort of cultural differences in those two organizations? What did you make of all of that?
Well, fortunately in Saratoga County, we have a lot of amazing providers and people that you're going to speak with, that you've talked to, that we talked to, with the other nonprofits in the impact sector that the chambers brought together, who really do amazing things for people that have a variety of needs. I always say that Saratoga is a very wealthy community, but the dichotomy is startling, especially when you work in the nonprofit world. I think the difference is compassion, perhaps, and passion, and people that have a lot more patience, and aren't as concerned, even though you're a nonprofit and you need to be profitable. It's not what motivates people. People don't do what they do for the limited funds that they would in the for-profit world. And I just, it's different. The culture, obviously, of Washington, D.C. is a whole lot different than Saratoga to begin with. So.
Thank heavens.
Yeah, in some ways. But it's a very startling contrast as far as ethnicity and varying people of different cultures. It's much more
right.
evident when you come back, even though I lived here all my life, but living in Europe for a year and then living down there was, it's much different here. But it's changed.
So I would imagine that getting sick for you probably must have changed your worldview a little bit. And you are now dealing with a whole different population of people who are also all kind of struggling with some
Right.
kind of challenge. Can you talk a little bit about what Saratoga Bridges does?
Sure. I mean, I learned very quickly how fortunate I was. I was on the spinal cord floor in Washington, D.C. with most of the guys were, at that time, the drug dealers were shooting each other in the spine. So and then they were waiting for nursing home placement because nobody would take them. And then when I came back here and I was volunteering at Wesley, there were people my age whose family weren't able to provide help. And my parents have, sacrificed everything for me. And my family, and I travel and I get to do what I want. I'm here. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to have for dinner or what time I need to go to bed. It's the whole, I learned very quickly how fortunate I was. And I think that's helped me with the people I work with. And I think they see me differently than they see the rest of the staff. I think that my disability makes me seem to them that they have goals that they can achieve, which is really inspiring. It's, and the people, I say that the individuals we support have a lot of gifts and a lot of talents, are very underappreciated in the world, and their profoundness about life. They may not have a filter about things, but they tell you direct. They don't hold grudges. They may be upset one day and the next day they drop it. There's not a hidden agenda about anything. They're who they are, and they're smart. They're a lot smarter than people give them credit for. And I used to do this program in the schools called In My Shoes, and when I try to describe some of their disabilities, I don't put language together like they do, which is amazing, and that's what I do. For I craft messages, I write all day, and I do all those kind of things for the organization. But I'm not as profound as I'll ever be as they are. So and some of their gifts as far as as far as the arts go. What you're passionate about, their ability to draw and paint and sing and dance has been eye-opening to us as an organization in the last, I'm going to say, 15 years. It's taken a whole new turn of the services we provide, or at least did provide pre-COVID times, but it's been amazing.
I've been thinking so much about just all the different aspects of what it means to be a human being, and that creativity is just part of what we're cut out to do. And we're cut out to be integrated into communities, whether it's your immediate family or just a little bit beyond your immediate family, like creating a family for yourself at your place of work or with friends, and that we're cut out to feel all the positive emotions, love and hope and joy and, a sense of righteousness. But you can't have all of that without also having your heart open to the other side of it, the sadness or loss or grief or all of those things that so many of us have faced over the last couple of years in particular. And it seems to me like Saratoga Bridges is touching so much of people's humanity when they come through those doors.
Exactly.
You can see a nurse, you can play an instrument, you can make a friend, you can get trained to do productive work. It's really remarkable.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And, I know, we're here to talk about what's gone on in the last couple of years, and it's been very upsetting in many ways because the limitations and the restrictions and what we've endured as an agency and as what we've been able to provide it's struggling for, the challenges have been really hard.
You must have seen people who are making so much progress as a result of the programs and then have to kind of go back into isolation and maybe lose some of that progress.
Somewhat, I think so. The staff, we have amazingly dedicated staff. The unfortunate thing, like everybody else, certainly in this area, the workforce crisis is traumatic to our industry and our field. And not having enough dedicated staff is hard for what our individuals can do. I mean, the amount of what some of my coworkers do on a daily basis is amazing, as far as how much time they work, hours and hours and hours, to make our individuals' lives better.
Yeah.
And then, it affects our own lives. It's, seeing them. My office, fortunately, is in one of our buildings where we have programs. And, I'm not there for a day, like I wasn't there today. And I'll go in tomorrow, and they'll be so excited to see me. And they have such, they're direct in their comments, like, you don't have enough mousse in your hair. That's my famous, one of my guys, Bruce, he's just amazingly funny. But, they give you such joy, and they just appreciate everything.
Is that your favorite part of your job?
Yes.
The people.
Yes, and being able to raise awareness and funds for them to make their lives better. I mean, that's what I feel privileged to do. And I think that in some ways it's really been one of the biggest blessings of my life. I really have to say that, because between my own family and friends, but the individuals that we support every day are tremendously funny and fun, and and the virus is hard. I mean, we lost one of our individuals because her family didn't want her getting vaccinated. I mean, and staff were there. My coworker Yolanda was there to hold her hand when she passed away, and it just very, very upsetting.
Of course.
But
wow. So what's it? How does it change a family to get involved with Saratoga Bridges? There must be families coming in who have. I know that some of the people that you serve were born with some kind of challenge, and it's just been baked into their family life from day one, and maybe you don't even meet them until they're an older child.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there are probably other people, I would think, who maybe went through an illness or a traumatic brain injury or something like that.
Right.
How does it affect a family to get involved in Saratoga Bridges?
Well, I think that certainly what we hear is it's an unbelievable stress reducer, that they know their child is safe. They're happy, they're challenged, whether they're learning new tasks, they've got new goals. A lot of our individuals love a structured life, and when they weren't able to go every day-to-day program, or weren't able to go get Dunkin' Donuts coffee every day, or weekly as a treat or something to that effect, it's hard. It was hard for the families, and it was hard for any family, dealing with childcare. So, one of the challenges we have right now is we need to, address the issue with how many people are like on a waiting list to get programs, because we need staff to be able to provide those adequately and at the highest level possible. So I think families are very appreciative, very much so. They really feel like they can trust who who their loved ones are being taken care of, and we hear it all the time how grateful they are. So,
well, you're making me want to go work there. I'll tell you that.
Well, we have a lot of opportunities, that's for sure. Our executive director retired after 38 years, Valerie Meritori, and I said, I said, we have all these. I know this great place that has a lot of openings that could use your skills, but she needed to be able to have a good night's sleep for one night. So
So let's talk about that side of things
Okay.
a little bit.
Sure.
You know, nonprofit work it's coming from the heart, so it can kind of take over your whole life if you let it. Sometimes I think of it as kind of like a spoiled 2-year-old child, and it will demand as much attention as you will give it.
Oh, yeah.
And you have
And
to
then
teach
some.
it.
And then some.
So work-life balance is, I would imagine that, because of the illness that you had and the physical challenges that you have, you must really have to take care of yourself. You can't let yourself get exhausted. Talk about work-life balance. How do you do it?
Well, my mother is sitting right over there, and she'll say that there isn't any balance. I don't do what I should. I think that the pandemic I never thought that I could work remotely or at home, and it doesn't allow for much breaks because, at like 6:00, my father will start calling when I'm at the office. Come on, we got to go home. Now I just work straight through, and I think being at home, I was like in a bubble, and I wasn't, isolated from a lot of the realities a lot of my staff were making or were dealing with. But I think it's hard. I think it's, if you're committed, it's hard to have that. I'm really fortunate that I don't have to cook and clean and do laundry and grocery shop. So I work, and then, I say that I raise money for Saratoga Bridges, and then I give it away in my volunteer life, whether it's with the Hawley Foundation or the Community Development Block Grants or the Jewish Community Center. And
I've kind of been around town a little bit, and generally when I'm around town, I see you doing something.
I feel like I'm, like I said, fortunate in that I don't have those responsibilities. I don't have children.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to give back even more. I wish there were more hours in the day to do so. There's so many organizations that need, people that are committed to their cause. And we live in such a good place as far as cultural and academic and recreational, so that there's a lot of different places to give your talents. You just need more people to volunteer.
So no work-life balance, and you dismissed that. And, I have to say that that's kind of a little bit of a relief for me to hear that, because when people talk about work-life balance, my reaction sometimes is, don't give me one more thing I have to do.
Right.
I don't want to have to think about it. And I don't want to feel like if I'm not, cutting myself off at 8 hours a day that I've somehow failed. Like, I want to be able to keep working if I want to keep working, if I'm on a roll. And also, I think sometimes we see so much need, and it's like, but it's on fire. I don't have time to take a break. It's on fire,
right.
Yes. And you kind of get so much energy from putting out energy.
Exactly.
So, but I know that it doesn't always feel like that. And sometimes it does get kind of exhausting, or you feel like, we're never going to solve this problem, or, there's no way under these circumstances that we can even do good work, or whatever it is. So what do you do to pick up your spirits again when it's that kind of time?
I think it was hard at home. It's not hard, like I said, at work. I go out of my office, and there's people right there who make me laugh, like I said, and they just by having a conversation with them, and it reverses the aggravation or the frustration almost instantaneously. So it's a fortuitous situation that my office is where it is, I think, for me. And I don't lose the connection to the mission and the purpose of the organization. And that's, to make their lives better and to empower them as best as they're able. That's the reality, I think, for me at least.
I think one thing I've heard from everybody who has sat in front of that microphone in this series is, when you're stressed, when you're getting really beleaguered by the whole thing, get closer to the work. And that's what will,
Drive you through.
drive you through, put wind back in your sails, and give you the energy to keep going. Well, how do you do anything to kind of learn new skills on the job?
We call it being voluntold. So there's a lot of things and what happens too when and you know this very well, most nonprofits don't have extraneous staff hanging around doing nothing. People wear a lot of hats. And, like I said, I started as a grant writer, and the myriad of stuff that I do changes all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps it, changing and evolving every day. I mean, by not having a lot of staff, you push through things that you probably didn't think you were maybe able to do or capable of doing. And I think it gives you, new challenges yourself to be able to accomplish that. So,
and you just figure out
right.
how to do what you got to do. Do you have any, and feel free to say no, but do you ever listen to podcasts or read books or things like that?
I read all the time. Yes.
Do you have any favorites that you would recommend to people in the
books to
nonprofit
read?
sector? Yeah.
Oh, in the nonprofit sector. Oh gosh.
And if you don't,
I was thinking I'm in a book club. I was in Leadership Saratoga, and I met a gal, and I was thrilled. I've been in the book club for 20 years now, and we read, and one of my fellow book club members asked us to give up a moment of silence for Paul Farmer. He was a doctor, and there was a book he wrote, Mountains Over Mountains, but I think that's what it's.
Over Mountains?
Yes, there was a Pulitzer Prize-winning book by Tracy Kidder by him, and I think it just, those are the kind of people that give you strength when you look and see what they accomplish. You can accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
Given, our community, the resources that we can use to network, I think is, exceptional here. And I think, certainly the individuals that are going to be you've already spoken with, and we work collaboratively, and certainly when you volunteer and people write grants that I read, and then I know what they're doing, and then, I'm in charge of our community relations committee at work, which is a board directed committee, and we partner with SPAC, and we partner with Wesley. We partner with a lot of organizations so that our individuals are out working in the community, which I think is really important for people to know that they're garnering a paycheck, which gives them a tremendous amount of pride, and certainly their pride is very contagious and infectious, really. But so I'm trying to think of what else I've read that would be inspirational. I'd have to think about that. But podcasts, the way you say that is, I was home, and all of a sudden it's like 1:00 in the afternoon. I'm thinking, I've been sitting in silence for hours upon hours. And then I say to my friends, I probably should have been listening to a podcast. And then I am easily distracted. So unless it's like music that I can just kind of hum along to or sing, which I'm sure, is in the background of your life a lot. But if I have something to have to pay attention to, I'm not so good at that. I don't do good like with audiobooks and things like that, which my friends, I'm too distracted.
I put on, I like Brene Brown. Dare to Lead is a great podcast.
I think that we're reading her book.
Okay, yeah, she's good. She's got a lot of good thoughts, and I find her very inspiring. And I will put it on my phone, and put it in my back pocket, and then put in some earbuds and do my cleaning once a week.
All right.
And I
did she write a book?
She
recently?
has written a few books. Yeah.
I think that's our book club book for this month.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. I hope you love it.
I will. I can't wait to read it now.
So
and listen to her.
let me just, you've actually already hinted at this a little bit, I would say, but let me ask, for somebody who's interested getting into the nonprofit sector, maybe in the kind of more administrative end of things, do you have any advice for them as they consider this as a career path?
Well, I think the more aware you are of the purpose and the mission of the organization is really crucial. And if you're not committed and you're not going to give it everything, then it's either the wrong population that you're working with, or subject, or organization, or I just think you need to know up front that it'll change your life, but you got to do it for the right reason, because otherwise it doesn't work for the organization, and it certainly doesn't work for the person. I don't know if if that's too direct, but I think that it's important to know that, and certainly in my field, we see people with the deer in the headlights look, because they don't, and, it's not always easy when someone has some emotional difficulties, but the positive side certainly outweighs it. So I think and I think there's so much, as I mentioned, I mean, we live in such a great community for people to try something else and use, whatever transferable skills you have will make a difference, I think, to the organization. And, a lot of times maybe start volunteering someplace first to see if it's of interest to you, and then take the leap into working there.
Dwayne Vaughn had that same piece of advice: go out and volunteer for different organizations. You will learn so much about the culture of them and the way they work, and whether it's a good fit for you or not.
He's doing a great job there.
He is, yeah. It was really cool to meet him.
Yes.
So let me just ask, do you have any story about somebody who has been served by Saratoga Bridges that kind of underscores the impact of your work? Something from the last couple of years, maybe.
Well, I don't know if it's an overgenerality of, people that get a job for the first time in the community, how much it means to them, doing custodial work, or you see our individuals at Hannaford or Price Chopper. I mean, one of my favorite guys, Michael, is like the cart manager. I mean, he takes it really seriously, doesn't matter what weather, inclement weather is occurring. But I think just some of the arts related activities have been, I think, life altering. I think things have changed dramatically, unfortunately, in the last 2 years. Hopefully, we keep hoping for the, future to be quicker and happier and more positive sooner. But I think some of the abilities of some of the people that I've saved their artwork is tremendous. I mean, it's really quite extraordinary that they're able to do something that they've never even tried before. So
Amazing.
Those kind of things are, and I even small things that they can accomplish, learning some other basic skill to them as a whole, it means the world. So, large and small goals that people reaching for their dreams. I mean, I know one of our individuals years ago, he wanted to get in drive a NASCAR, and he uses a wheelchair, and they figured out how to get him into that thing. I don't know how they did it, but the joy that you see on people's faces gives you more inspiration to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And how long have you been at Saratoga Bridges?
It'll be 24 years in a couple weeks.
That's
hard
great.
Well, the irony is, a lot of the people that are working there, I always say, I've been here longer than you've been on this planet, and I think they look at me like, oh my God, this old lady, but.
Well, what a twisting, turning path, and it sounds like this has been a very satisfying 24 years for you, and you've touched a lot of lives.
Right. I hope so. Yeah. They touched mine, that's for sure.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
You're not going to believe this, but we just spent a half hour talking.
Well, I can talk forever. That's the only problem.
Well, that's great. It's
Thank you.
you know, we've crossed paths a bunch of times, and it's so
Exactly.
great to hear a little bit more of your story and
Well,
learn.
thank you. I
about
can't
your
wait to
life.
be here more often. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I've been very, just because of myself and living with parents that are a little bit older, very, very careful. I haven't really traveled much, so I'm so looking forward to returning to some semblance of whatever normalcy is out
Yeah.
there.
Well, thanks for hanging in there,
Thank
and I
you.
look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks,
Thanks
Sarah.
for coming over this
Oh,
afternoon.
thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Everybody needs to come to Caffe Lena to see something soon. Great. Oh my gosh.